Sonko. Mike Sonko's appeal at the Supreme Court was struck out, and now that paves way for the swearing in of Adan Keynan. We don't know when that will be. We have not seen a gazette notice, but clearly the path is open now. And Honorable Elachi, you served as the Speaker of Nairobi City County in the early years of this term. Now the matters have come to where they are. I mean, you have a Nairobi Metropolitan Service that has been working since, I believe, either February or March last year. You have had an acting governor for as many months, and now the road appears clear for her to ascend that office. What must she do now once she gets the full mandate of leading the county to the next election?
Well, you know, Nairobi is not a walk in a park, and Nairobi has so many intrigues that are under, not even what people see. So I think for me, one of the things that I learned when I was in Nairobi County is that, first of all, well, for now that Sonko is not there, you know, for me with Sonko, it was like two spirits working on a different level. You have your spirit, he has his spirit, they cannot function. So she now doesn't have that, and I think she needs to just focus and bring everybody on board. If she decides again to play that game of you split, this one is a bad one, you are told you listen to people. One of the things, listen to what is good for Nairobians, but don't listen to those who want to do the business, and they've been doing the business. They have removed, they came, they did it with Sonko. Sonko has left them. They are doing the business. They are coming for you. And I will tell her here today, the best she can do to herself, first of all, is make that place a prayerful place. Pray for yourself. If not, you will be in the same dock Sonko is. Oh, trust me. Nairobi is not a place where you go, you play around with those cartels, or you will be in the dock. They will take you to the dragon.
What do the cartels want the governor to do?
Well, the business. Oh, the business. And the business in Nairobi is very interesting. So there are businesses that people don't know. Businesses that bring billions of money. But even, I will tell you, even my own general body has not been able to deal with it.
What businesses do they engage in?
In Nairobi, we have wash businesses, not wash of money, in terms of you can supply hewa and you get the money the way you want.
Supplying to the county?
It's supplying to the county. So you will find things in disaster. It's very easy, by the way, to find yourself into a mess if you're not careful, because they come in, the markets have issues, the parkings have issues, the loading zones have issues. And those are the small. And now when you go now to the 85 counties, and you have very, very interesting officers.
Wards.
Wards, yes, the 85 wards, sorry. You will also find you have to be you can collect revenue if you are completely with a good team. Do you know you can collect revenue per year, 50 billion to 80 for Nairobi? If you have a good team. But to dismantle this team also is not a joke. And so if she comes in, come in and start now again, oh, I'm sacking this one, I am removing this one, it's too short. Come in and embrace this team and try and work as you move to the end with the few months you have. That would be the best. But if you come in and you want so-and-so to leave because you've been wanting them to leave, but you have been able, now I've become a governor, I want this one, it will not work. It will become messy, and they are the ones who will now start again working to see that you fail. So it's not easy. I want to tell Adan Keynan, congratulations. Yes, you will be sworn in, but my dear sister, ask God to give you wisdom and knowledge. Ask God for wisdom. That's what I can tell her.
Let me shift to this table first. Honorable Kira, it sounds like a very difficult county to run. And there's been several conversations on probably Nairobi should not have been a county like the rest, should have been treated differently. Has that time come for us to reconsider? Because if you're to talk about the challenges that every leader in Nairobi have to deal with, including NMS, what's the solution there?
Just like in Africa, the major challenge is leadership. Leadership in the sense that we refuse to rise above our level of indiscipline, and we look at public resources as if they are our own resources. Nairobi has had a lot of interesting moments, be it the days of Kingori, the days of Mwangi, and more recently, the days of Sonko. It is because there are many interests within Nairobi. Apart from the economic interests, there are also political interests, where certain things ought to be done to suit certain individuals, including the issue of expanding Nairobi, issues of zoning certain areas in Nairobi to give way to certain developments that are geared towards assisting some individuals to leverage their resources. So it may not be an answer in terms of saying we configure it to bring it under the national government. What we just need to do is to allow the leadership of Nairobi and the people of Nairobi to elect good people. And once they elect good people, those people also should be supported. I would not expect any governor of Nairobi to work in isolation, to work without the support of the government, because there are many issues that the two institutions, the national government and the county government, ought to work together. But the most important thing is lack of effective leadership, both at the county and at the national level. You see, you're seeing almost everywhere we are taking military, even KEMSA. When did the military people become auditors of chemical, of medicine? We need to give a solution to this problem. And as I've said before, the problem in Africa is leadership. And where there are a lot of resources, look at DRC, there is a problem. Look at Angola, because of the oil, there is a problem. Look at many other countries, even here in Ethiopia, there is a problem. Just because there are external elements that are interested in the resources inbuilt in that particular society or in this particular county.
You raise an interesting matter there that military is being sent to KEMSA. We spoke to KEMSA last week on Thursday, and they denied involvement of any KDF. They said that NYS would be going there. But hold it there, because we'll be talking about that shortly. Honorable Opio Wandai, we're looking at a county that has more than 4 million people in terms of residents. Of course, during the day, they may be higher. 85 wards, 17 constituencies, quite a significant county, even politically. Do political parties have a role and responsibility, knowing that there's been the experiment of Governor Kidero of ODM and the experiment of Mike Sonko of Jubilee and the NMS now? What role do political parties play, and what must they do as we walk towards next year's general election?
Well, yes, before I get into that, Sam, it is important also, of course, to realize and to take note that Nairobi is, of course, the biggest contributor to our GDP as a county. And that should, of course, make any government to pay special attention to it. But even more importantly, Nairobi is the gateway to the country, by and large. And therefore, it is what depicts the country, as it were. My view is that even though we have got this temporary transfer of functions to the national government, that should basically remain a temporary measure, a stopgap measure. But ultimately, the long-term solution to the problems facing Nairobi as a county lies in leadership, as Honorable Kerwa says. And what I mean here is, because in the past, we have seen this. I still remember, those of us who have age, the time of the then Mayor Steve Mwangi, after the first multi-party elections of 1992. He did wonderful things because he seemed to have had a vision. So what we need is pragmatic leadership, a leadership that has strategic management skills and people leadership skills. But where does the party come in here? I'm one of those people who are of the view, very strong view, that political parties must have the latitude to decide who flies their tickets for what position. I hold that very strong view from experience.
How differently from
this idea of leaving
from the universal suffrage of 2017 under Jubilee?
This idea of leaving it to the people to pick candidates for political parties in a process which, first and foremost, is not clear. The political parties have got no capacity to even conduct those nominations, to be able to get out the best out of what people are picking. I don't think that is right. Political parties must have latitude, and in most of these parties' constitutions, including my own party, there is a provision for parties to directly pick candidates to run for specific positions, elective positions. One such position I hold is Nairobi, the position of the governor of Nairobi County. Any serious political party,
how do you propose political parties to arrive at the...
Any serious political party hoping to lead Nairobi as a governor must be able to headhunt for the right person to present to the people to vote for. That is my view.
Okay.
And because we have seen the mistakes, the experiments we have had in the past, the last 2 terms of devolution, we have now seen for ourselves that where we leave it to the people to decide in a process which is not clear, then the end result is obvious. These cartels that Honorable Lach is talking about have been there for a long time. And they'll continue to be there. But I don't agree with the fact that they cannot be dismantled.
Okay.
I think they can be dismantled with a determined leadership, a leadership
politically
that is clear,
or through the law?
both politically and legally. They can be dismantled.
Honorable Keynan, how does that proposal by Opio and I fly in the face of democracy, that let push away the people and have political parties to headhunt? And what would be your recommended formula for your Jubilee Party?
I think, first of all, that's why we say politics is the art of the possible. If there was a formula, I think many people will have been very happy. They will have had a predetermined results in all their political endeavors. That being the case, once upon a time, you remember the way democracy started. Once upon a time in Greece, you used to have, gatherings that will take place months. Then later on, they came up with representatives based on islands. And then from there, that is actually the birth of democracy. The second birth of actual democracy, the second place where actual democracy actually emerges is Medina. In Mecca, in Saudi Arabia, during Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, time, where for the first time, people from different groupings, the Jews, the Arabs, the people who didn't believe, came together, and there had to be some sort of democracy. That being the case, what my brother is alluding to is the issue of party list. I think there's a very controversial suggestion which will negate right to vote, the right to participate. It's allowed in certain contexts. It's allowed. I think it's certain latitude that parties should hold. That's why if parties realize that one individual is so popular within a certain domain, the parties have the latitude to pick that particular individual without subjecting that particular person to a party nomination, which sometimes can be laborious, the way he's alluding. But I think generally taking away that role from the public and giving it to a clique in our growing democracy, I think may not be good. But ultimately, there has to be a mix. Because our parties are not ready for pure, professionally driven party nominations. So in the absence of that, then there's chaos. You have seen, like right now I'm reading something that has happened in one of the counties in Nyanza, where my good friend and the able chairman of ODM, Honorable Badi, was stoned. And it's sad. This should not be allowed at all. Individuals should be given space to say what they want to say within the confines of the law, and may the people pick the best. That being the case, let me take you back to this one of Nairobi. Like my good friend here is scared. If truly, and you have every reason, my good friend Alachi, to be scared, because I know what you have gone through. You have been harassed, you have been tormented, and that it's allowed. It's part of politics, and I think being a very strong lady,
allowed.
It's allowed because politics.
Yes, you know, in politics, nothing is given for free. Nothing is free. Look, she was the speaker. She was the speaker. She was elected. She had to manage Nairobi. There were opponents. There were supporters. So for you to be tossed and sometimes bad mouth and all this, sorry for what may have happened, but I think that has made you even a stronger, greater lady. So that being the case, the issue of the current governor of Nairobi, I think during the countdown to the current constitution, and I was in parliament, I was among the people with the view that we need to think of a special way of governing Nairobi. That did not click to the elites of that particular time, because everybody thought of using their own numerical strength, perceived numerical strength in Nairobi. It's like, my thinking was at that particular time, This is Nairobi. This is the melting point of the people of Kenya. This is the collection of the 50 million, 47 million plus Kenyans. This is the face of Kenya. It does not belong to a particular tribe. It does not belong to a particular party. It does not belong to particular groupings. It is us. It's our face. It's our capital city. So my thinking at that particular time was, can we think of a special way and give Nairobi special status? It didn't work. I remember those proponents of BBI had a similar thoughts. I think later on, I think they got a bit pressured, and that proposal was removed. Ultimately, as citizens, as leadership, we must think of a special way of governing Nairobi. Special way of governing Nairobi. I'm not going to prescribe whether it's going to be through elections, whether it's going to be through. If we don't, we have a serious pressure on services.
Okay.
Just allow me this.
It's still a question to you, because August 2017, Mike Sonko elected into office alongside Polycarp Igathe. Come, is it December, Igathe announces that he's going to leave his office, and he does so in January 2018. December 2019, Sonko is charged and barred from accessing his office. December 2020, he is impeached. And now November 2021, he has lost his bid to recapture the seat. So it's almost every 12 months there's something new happening to him. Do you think this was a mistake for the Jubilee Party to subject the candidates for Nairobi to universal suffrage of nomination and eventually end up with Mike Sonko, whom all of you know the kind of person he is, only for just a few years into office, he's being charged and barred from office, and now he's no longer the governor?
You see, I think you need to understand this. At that particular time, in our opinion, Mike Sonko was the most popular candidate who could beat our opponents. And that was the only consideration. It worked.
It was about capturing...
It's about the popularity. You see, we had also to be fair. At that particular time, yes, Mike Sonko was very popular with the citizens, with the Nairobi voters. It happened. As to how the malfunctioning and other mistakes that he made immediately after he assumed office is a different chapter. But then let me take you back to this.
Why are you surprised?
Let me take you back to this. I think there are some things that I don't want to say here, because now that he's out of office, I can only empathize with him. And as a former colleague also in Parliament, I can only empathize with him. He has done what he could.
The reason I'm asking...
Allow me to complete this. You know, you have asked me two critical questions.
Yes, and you will. The reason I'm asking this question is because political parties, as institutions funded by taxpayers' resources, have also a responsibility.
Yes, agreed. But allow me this. There are three things. First, Nairobi as a cosmopolitan is a very difficult county. But there's one notion, I think, which we need to erase our mind. What we have is an economic devolution. It's not a federation. It's not a confederation. It's an economic devolution. I think people have mistaken. Even the governors, even the way they pick their running mates, even the way they govern. And this is a problem actually all over. I think we need to inculcate in their minds that what we have an economic devolution. For those of us who are there, our idea was to devolve more resources to the ground. But I think right now power has gotten to the minds of everybody. Like these people are now in a state of hallucination, confused. The issue of service delivery has taken a back seat. To that extent, this is the high time, in my opinion, as we review the different aspects of the current constitution, whether it's going to be done now or the years to come or the next decade or whatever, to look at the pitfalls of the current constitution and come up with remedial measures within the confines of the constitution in order to address some of the challenges that we have seen in Nairobi and also in other parts of the county. On the issue of the candidate, and let me be candid on this, what parties look at in a very competitive environment is who can win within the law. That worked. We have learned our lessons. That is why today I'm not worried about what our good lady Adan Keynan. Adan Keynan is a very strong lady. She should sit and operate within the law. There will always be interests. Wherever she is today, as Nairobians, because all of us are Nairobi, as benefit also as residents of Nairobi, this is our capital. Sit, be firm, operate within the law. The Jubilee Party and the government will give you all the necessary support in order to deliver services to the people of Kenya. If you fear, Nairobians will never forgive you. If you fear and you don't perform, we as Jubilee members, and she's also from our party, will never forgive you. And I hope the heads of different agencies, wherever they are, will accord Adan Keynan all the necessary support for her to deliver and remove the fears that, because yes,
I didn't put
I am a very religious person. I believe in prayer. God solves, God answers, God is the Almighty, is the giver.
Okay.
That is one aspect. But equally, that is one aspect. I entirely agree with you. Prayer is very important. But God has also given you the brain. That is why we are different from the other beings.
That's why
the brain to think, the brain to reflect, and that is part of the gifts from God, from Allah. So I want also to use that bit and work very hard for the people of Kenya.
Yes.
And she will be protected by God first, 2 by the government, 3 by the rule of law, and 4 by her own good acts.
All right.
Come out. I know she'll be sworn in the next few days, because of there's nowhere else actually anybody will appeal to. Supreme Court has made a decision. The only appeal now is so now that she's almost going to take over as the substantive governor of Nairobi.
Okay.
Allow me to say this: the issue of the fear of the unknown, business interests. If you go to America today, look at the issue of climate, the climate menace right now. It's purely because of global business interests. Look at the challenges, the regions, the conflicts. That will always be there, because people must make money out of government. People must also do business with government. But that must be done within the rule of law, within the confines of the law. So if you fear of the interest, my friend, even in your own household, there's interest.
It's interesting how you secure your statement within the law. That is not actually the problem in this country.
No. The law is there. The law is there.
Law.
Yes. So going forward, Nairobi as a city, as our hub, as our melting point. I think all the political leaders must think out of the box, come together and create a special status for Nairobi that will be devoid of our petty politics, our regional interest, our parochial day-to-day, so that Nairobi becomes the epicenter of the eminence of this great country called Kenya. And that is what we should always be very proud of. Look at Jomo Kenyatta, by the way. Look at, allow me this.
No, we need to take a short break, Honorable Keynan, because we're running out of time. It's now 17 minutes past 7 o'clock. And this conversation continues. On the other side of the break, we'll be touching quickly on the matters that the Kenya Medical Supplies Authority, that is KEMSA, and later on we touch about politics in the country after the break. Stay tuned.